little intro?
Yeah, I guess so. Go for it. Okay.
Welcome
Thank
to
you.
Obscuria Filmcast.
Volume 2 of the
Year in
year in
review.
review. We left off last time discussing Sean's pick of What Happens in Vegas 2008. And Seth had a question that he didn't get to ask.
Why is this an obscure film? That's my question. Sean.
Okay. It's an obscure film.
Right.
Wait, let's pause and just remind the audience. This is a blockbuster comedy with Cameron Diaz and
Ashton Kutcher.
With
Treat Williams.
And it grossed hundreds of millions of dollars.
And it was it's how old? How old is it?
And
it's from 2008.
2008.
Okay.
So what makes it obscure?
Okay. I'll tell you what makes it obscure is that in the world of rom-coms, Judy's making me smile, but in the world of rom-coms, they are known for all having the same ending, and that's the appeal for romantic comedies. So what makes this one obscure than the rest is that it's the rom-com in its most boiled down form, with all the impurities out, the essences, the essential oils of romance, comedy, entertainment, and making you happy in there, like a fine whiskey. So there is no there is no identifying individualistic feature like all rom-coms have, except for this one. That's what makes it obscure. You're welcome.
Okay, I'm not even going to argue with that word salad that just came out of
my
snake
mouth. Has some oil.
I will say one thing to that, and then I have one more follow-up question, which I think is more relevant. Clear. Yeah. You sounded like the audio version of that meme with the guy who's like in a detective station with all pictures and trying to connect the dots. And that's what that was.
I was thinking more Miss America pageant, where they ask him a question and like they've prepared, but they can't really remember this.
Answer the question. Answer the question.
Go see What Happens in Vegas. And
it took me 10 seconds to get there, but I answered the question.
Quote, do you think, this is Sean, are you guys trying to say that Stanley Kubrick could make a movie this good?
No, is the acting as good?
Oh, the acting.
Stanley Kubrick.
The acting is better than Stanley Kubrick films.
No, yeah. I said it was Kubrick-esque. Now,
that's even worse, bro. That's even worse.
Okay, hold on. No, I'll explain. I'll explain.
Yes, you're the great explainer. Explain.
Now, if you watch the behind the scenes on The Shining, you'll see Jack Nicholson say the focus on realism and is it real and authentic? That doesn't make it interesting. So there's true. So just being real and authentic doesn't make it interesting. In What Happens in Vegas, it's interesting because the volume is kind of turned up a little bit. Now, Spielberg and Kubrick were having a conversation one day, way back when, and even Spielberg went to Kubrick. This is real. And even Spielberg went to Kubrick saying, "Hey, Stanley, what is with Jack in The Shining? He's a little weird. He's a little ah." And Spielberg said, Kubrick said to him that Kubrick said, "Name your five greatest actors, your five favorite actors. Don't even think about it. Just name them." And Spielberg said James Cagney.
Wait, are you sure you didn't say Ashton Kutcher?
No, he said James Cagney.
Cameron Diaz.
No, he said James Cagney, and Kubrick said, "There you go. There you go. James Cagney's acting like how I'm acting right now."
I know, and that's a terrible
These are all
example.
thought out method choices by Ashton Kutcher And in fact, Ashton Kutcher, to prepare for this, didn't live anywhere near her at all. And she didn't live anywhere near him. So it could seem like they actually just met each other as strangers. This was an actual
Brilliant.
choice.
That's brilliant.
Oh,
Seth.
that's not funny. That's
Until
not
this movie.
funny.
Sean, you know what?
They
You-
only met each other at Hollywood parties and awards and stuff, but it wasn't for their lives. This was method acting.
I have an obscure film for Sean based on everything you just said. I think you'll get a lot of insight into how you just came across. Watch A Beautiful Mind with Russell
Best
Crowe.
Picture 01. Best Director. Yeah.
And
Best Picture.
listen to the way he tries to make sense of stuff. That's what that sounded like to me.
Hey man,
I don't understand. I don't understand the parallel. I still don't understand the metaphor you're
That's actually a
doing.
good compliment, Sean.
what? Oh yeah.
Beautiful
I was
mind,
Sounds like a compliment.
Judy,
Well, I mean, no,
was
I
about
think
to
you're
say,
no, I think you're brilliant, and a lot of I think you're brilliant,
but kind of,
and I think that when you're correct about something, you argue very cogently for your position.
Yes.
But when you're incorrect about something, you fight tooth and nail, you rack your brain with these twisted arguments that don't make any sense to try to prove your point. And that's what I think you're doing right now.
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking
Can
about.
I make a Marvel Comics analogy in our web series? If our web series was a comic book, what happens in Vegas is when Sean gets bitten by a radioactive spider, and or Dr. Banner gets hit by gamma rays, or Thor finds the hammer, and because this character that Sean is now, like, it started to evolve, and it like hit the ground running in that one.
All right, here's how
All
about
right,
this?
we got to stop beating up on Sean. It's
I was
time
gonna
to
say,
beat up
with
on
that
somebody
radioactive
else.
spider, we
This
should
is-
move on to our next film.
All right, but I just want to say, I don't think Abram and Seth Michael like being happy. That's why they didn't like what happens in Vegas. They don't like being happy.
No, I liked it. I
All right,
enjoyed the
okay,
film.
all right, we're done. All right, moving on.
See,
What do we got?
All right, never mind. We're moving on to Judy. We're going to talk about episode 11, Zombies, or is it Zombies? I don't know how you
We
pronounce
call it zombies, but it is
Yeah.
with dashes or dots or something.
2018.
Yes.
This is the first musical film that we did, and the first children's film. And we don't know the budget or box office.
Because it
There's
was
not much-
But
streaming.
it's Disney, so
That's Disney. We don't. There's not much. There's not really much critical anything. Like critics didn't really review this film, but it has a modest audience positive rating, 53%. So
What I liked about Zombies.
kids love it. Well, Judy,
there is
why did you
Zombies
pick this
3.
film?
We're still waiting for the date. My 5-year-old wanted to have her 5th birthday party to be a zombies party, and so this first movie, Zombies, takes place with the cheerleaders and the zombies and football players. And the second movie, which you guys didn't get to see yet, is with werewolves.
Oh, nice.
Third movie is supposed to be when the aliens arrive. And this is very anticipated event over here. And there's some disappointment that the third movie did not come out yet due to
They're
COVID.
waiting for the real aliens to come.
So Addison, the lead, you guys, in the movie has the like platinum blonde hair because she's different. Remember, there's that beautiful song.
Oh,
Sorry, I can't say it with a
Yeah.
straight face. Where she takes her wig off.
yeah.
She's just gonna stand, and then the football
Says
player does like a
me.
weird song, but like it's her cousin, and it's but Bucky's a great character. We all agreed, right? So anyway, but there's a great cast of characters, and there's some good songs, and I think the consensus that we made is like everyone, I think, especially Sean, had the same reaction that I did. I first saw the movie with my sister during COVID, and her son, who at the time I think was 7. And it seems to be popular, I would say, about the age groups of about 5 to 10 years old. I feel like that's the age that lives in the good in the zombies world, because it's very far-fetched, fun, colorful. And it's one of those movies where you're watching it and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that this was made. But then like by the end, you're like, ooh, I don't know, I kind of like it.
Well, halfway through, you're invested, you know.
Yeah.
I do got to say the movie does grow on you as you watch it. Two, I really like the production because all those dancers hit at the same time every time. And I kind of like that. I got the feeling that they had dancers right outside of camera range waiting to replace actors who can't hit when it's their number. Okay, so there's that too. The dancing sequences were amazing, especially in the warehouse where Milo Manheim did the back jump. He did it 4 times in there, and one time they did it with like CGI, and the rest of the times they did it with camera tricks. But it worked every time. I believed it. It's yes, the content is a little not adult, but the production value is like expert. And it really did grow on me, especially when she took off the wig, looking like Billy Idol's girlfriend in the end, and she's like, "Here I am," and it was really kind of wonderful. And Milo does grow on you. I liked it. I almost considered watching the sequel.
Go for it.
I really liked it, and I want to add to what Sean said. Not only are these kids like professionals and experts, they're working in a country with child labor laws. So if they get it wrong, they have to reshoot on the Disney lot. It's not like, for instance, when the Smiths went over and did with Jackie Chan's company, the Karate Kid remake, where they could work an underage kid, 18 hours a day because it was shot in China.
Did they? That's awesome.
Yeah, they did. And they worked little Jaden.
That's why he's crazy.
Part of that corporation. I think.
No, it has nothing to do with his parents. It's because he had to work in China.
It was that rough movie with Jackie Chan that did it. Not the
Jackie Chan's a hardcore
days.
Republican. He's a hardcore Republican, Jackie Chan.
Anyway,
what does that mean?
He's not having it. Yeah.
The other thing I like about this movie is there are other, like, if you're musical theater savvy, they like do stuff in this. Like there's a scene where the bad kid is like praying to his football trophies. and it's like he's Yul Brynner as Pharaoh in and who was also, but Yul Brynner as Pharaoh is also Yul Brynner in The King and I. So it's it's the same thing. And then there was another and then when she reveals her hair, it's like when Sandy goes bad at the end of Grief. And then we know that Sandy has taken a step into womanhood symbolically.
Trashy
by her
all the way
outfit that she wears. So there's that in Zombies, and like Wizards, it's the only children's film where you ever will see it.
Wizards is not a children's film.
Yeah,
but it's rated G for the time it was, and so is this. This has a nuclear spill at the beginning of the whole thing.
A nuclear explosion from lime green soda. That kicks off the whole movie.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say I don't have much to add to what you guys have said, other than that I fucking hate musicals, and I actually kind of like this. I find that, like, I think because I'm a musician, and like I had to play in musicals in high school in the pit band, and just the
You like Stephen Sondheim, you just don't like
Flashbacks.
Listen, I don't like all of his stuff. I played the bass in the pit band for Into the Woods. Boom, 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 boom. Into the woods, boom, boom. I mean, like, give me a break. Like, Stephen Sondheim has his moments of genius in his writing and whatever, but I have to put up with it's like going to a restaurant where it's like going to the restaurant. I don't know if it's going to a restaurant where the decor and everything's really beautiful, but the food sucks, or where it's like really uncomfortable and ugly and the food is delicious, or whatever. But it's like, I don't like musicals. I just don't. And this was actually, I think it was good. It was entertaining. It was a good balance of kitsch and clever storytelling. And I didn't get lost in the pageantry of it like I normally do with musicals. So if you have kids and you want to watch something that's at the very least mildly entertaining for an adult, if not like pretty entertaining, It's a good selection. Pick zombie. It's cool. It's a cool story. You could have some fun with your 5-year-old with this movie, and you can't always do that. It's better than, I don't know. 5-year-olds don't watch Teletubbies, right? That's like younger, right?
No, that's little ones.
That's like very little ones. I mean,
Yeah.
children's TV can be really, and movies can be really boring, but this was actually entertaining. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, before we move on, one thing about what happens in Vegas is that Stanley
really?
Kubrick's favorite movie was White Men Can't Jump.
Was it?
Yes.
Yeah, but that movie's a masterpiece.
That's what I'm saying. Anyway, 1978's Big Wednesday. Seth, this was your pick. It's our episode 12. Could you explain to everybody why you picked Big Wednesday?
I picked the Big Wednesday because it's written by John Milius. And John Milius at this point in his career was like the greatest writer ever. He had done the initial script to Apocalypse Now before Francis started improvising everything and couldn't afford to shoot the ending the way Milius wanted it.
And Marlon. Yeah, like, I mean, it's a great companion piece with a lot of movies, but Easy Rider's Raging Bull documentary. There's a Milius documentary, and there's also Hearts of Darkness, a filmmaker Apocalypse. But anyway, he loves surfing. That's why Charlie don't surf in Apocalypse Now. Yeah, in Apocalypse Now, and they said, okay, you can do a surfing movie, and it was a very personal film for John Milius, and they switched points on it. Spielberg, Milius, and Lucas swapped points because they thought that Star Wars, Close Encounters, and Big Wednesday were going to clean up equally, and of course, Big Wednesday didn't. And lost money.
So
and was
Big
this
Wednesday,
the first Star? This was the first Star Wars that came out.
Star Wars, yeah. So one of those
Which is
guys,
crazy.
One of those guys didn't get any points because Big Wednesday didn't make any money.
Mm-hmm.
And but you can see all these John Milius did
Isms.
Harry script. He did Judge
Red
Roy
Dawn.
Bean. Which one?
He did Red Dawn and HBO's Rome.
And HBO's Rome. He's like an amazing writer, and you can see a lot of his tropes through this whole movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't say amazing. He's not he's not really a craftsman. He's spiritual, and he's very good at masculinity, which a lot of people get wrong or weird and stuff, because masculinity is also about bonding, and he's very good with that stuff, not just being crass. The one thing that I think, Judy, you said in the episode was that when Gary Busey, when they all went to Mexico for the weekend, and John Milius had his cameo about marijuana, and Gary Busey married somebody's sister, and then when he found everybody again, he just rode away. I was a little sad, but I guess that's what was meant about all that masculinity and the bonding. But the budget was 11 million, and the box office was 4.5, so it lost more than half.
Yeah, I think.
And the surfing is gorgeous.
Yeah, the shots
of the men.
Yeah.
The shots of the surfing are probably, that's the greatest surf footage up to that point. Like it's epic. Like you don't get films like these documentary style. Like when I was growing up in the 90s, it was very common that you'd have these like underground indie films that was just straight footage of like surfers or skateboarders. Like they were called surf videos or skate videos, and there was no narrative or even documentary. It would just be like world-class surfers, and you just like watch them, watch videos of them doing amazing tricks and stuff, and then also with the skateboarding and then other types of stuff, which I think gave way to like what is that, Jackass paradigm.
Yeah,
like,
Jackass, Bam
it's kinda
Margera,
like the
Spike
same.
Jones.
Yeah. I think like, yeah, the shots of this film are gorgeous, and the structure of the film, like the whole story and the decision making around how to like all the little like goofy shit that all these guys get into and all their little mishaps and everything, like the Vietnam draft stuff, the scenes where they're getting into bar fights, the house party, like
Yep.
you can tell that Milius is channeling his like inner teenager when he wrote this. The only problem is I think he like channeled it too much because it's kind of written with the story structure, a kind of amateurish structure. It's sort of
It
cobbled
was.
together.
Yeah.
The
And it
rise and
doesn't-
fall of that surf
yeah,
guy,
like the
surf
arc
shop
of,
owner guy.
the arc of the story is exactly that. There's a lot of different interesting storylines that don't really get woven in together in such a way that the movie has the proper pacing to keep
Yeah.
you like kind of like focused. But for me, I guess like because of all the other things that I like about it, I still give it 2 thumbs. I still give it 7 or 8 out of 10. Like this is definitely a really important piece of history, this movie. And if you love surfing, if you're serious about surfing, shout out to all my surfer friends. Definitely, if you haven't seen this movie, like that's crazy. You have to see it. It's a necessary part of surf history, this film.
And I just thought also those beaches may not exist anymore that they shot on. Like, unless those are like,
Uh,
I don't even know
preserved.
where they shot it.
I think they shot it,
California.
In Southern California.
Southern California, but some of those beaches, were probably owned by private owners, maybe, or
Most
and may not
all
exist anymore.
all the beaches are public, even if there's private property on them. But
I want to know what Judy
different,
thinks.
probably.
what about
Judy,
that film?
well, yeah, all the man meat.
Yeah, it doesn't really stand out in my memory, unlike other films. It was just average. Sorry.
Can we say something about
Very
aesthetics?
real.
Seth Michael Vincent was the most beautiful thing ever at the time.
Gary Busey, yeah. No, I think what stands out in my mind is this the film where someone dies in the war, and I remember having to
yes.
rewind because I was so confused at who died.
It was
And
like
it
the
really
fourth
took
guy.
me out of the movie because I was like, is it one of the main characters who died, or is it like their friend? Like I couldn't figure it out. And so that stands out for me. I don't like being that confused in a movie where I'm like completely taken out of the viewing experience.
Yeah.
It sort of took me out of I like getting in the world, and then like I love having questions, but not so much that I have to rewind it to see, was I just not paying attention? I liked that there was like moments of, yes, the surf stuff was beautiful, and I'm not a surfer, and I'm not even like a beach enthusiast really, but
dare you.
it was pretty, and it had like a nice sentimental feeling. The party scenes were just a little over the top. And I'm not sure what I said about the wife that he leaves, and but yeah, a little bit of the treatment of women in the movie between that and like the mom of the house, and she's just sort of like, oh, whatever, as they're like trashing her house.
That was kind of goofy.
It just seems like a little bit like, I don't know if that would happen, but you can suspend reality for some movies. I would give it like a 1 thumb up. Wasn't terrible, but not a movie that I would probably go like, yay, I'm gonna watch that one again. Unless it's like the beginning. I remember the beginning is really pretty.
Yeah,
with
the
the
beginning
scenes.
is cool. But the next film was
One
episode
second,
13.
I have something else to say about it. Does anyone remember the Before They Were Famous in that movie? Who's in that movie?
At the
Freddy
horror
Krueger.
guy.
Freddie Krueger.
Krueger.
Robert England is the nerdy guy.
He was
Couple
also in
lines.
Tobe Hooper's first movie, Alligator Motel, which I thought was kind of weird. But Abram, the next movie was chosen by you, Crimes of Passion. Could you please explain why you chose that movie? I think we all decided.
I don't remember. Yeah, I think I gave you a few that are like very different.
We had a multiple
movies.
choice.
A multiple choice, and you guys chose this one, and I was the only one who'd ever seen it before. This movie is a cult classic, 1984, and I think it became like one of those movies that I watched a lot in high school with my friends. Okay, I had this friend, Luke, growing up, rest in peace, Luke, of blessed memory, who had this like, he had his own like apartment attached to his parents' house, and his parents like let him do whatever he wanted, and he was one of those kids. We called
Nice.
his apartment or house or whatever barn thing the psychedelic dungeon, because he liked to collect a lot of artifacts and antiques, and he just made his like, it was just like full of weird antiques and like just random stuff, like, you know, little
Toys and stuff.
well, like little black like lawn jockeys and
Oh, random, like
just
random stuff.
random and like weird, just like art, like whatever he
Ornaments.
could find. You know, there's just tons of antique stores up here in the country, and this is like the like 1.5, 2 years that I like lived in upstate New York when I was finishing high school, and we would watch all these obscure movies. There was like this crazy VHS rental place that had all these weird. So he was also watching all these obscure like biker movies from the '60s and weird cult classics and whatever. And I think this was one of the movies that this became one of our cult classics. We watched this movie like all the time, and you know, did all kinds of abused all kinds of substances when we were watching this movie. Which, by the way, if you're into that sort of thing, it's probably one of the best movies for that.
Yeah.
It's a very trippy movie. It's
The
really
music.
weird.
The
The
music,
music is
was really good.
insane. Rick Wakeman did the music, and it's like insane to the point of being distracting. And the story is about a woman who is a successful modern woman, high
80s woman, the 80s
the
woman.
80s working woman, powerful, you know, whatever, kind of like, you know, nice pantsuit type of thing. By day, and street walking like low life prostitute by night.
Own
Like
apartment.
not like, yeah, like in a dirty stinking, like it's like the most extreme, not like a classy escort at night, like a super high paid professional during the day, and like scummy motel like situation, and it was just totally extreme. And then you have this psychotic priest played by
Anthony Perkins.
Anthony Perkins, who's obsessed with converting like these evil prostitutes and getting them on the straight and narrow, but he's also a cokehead, and he can't stop sniffing coke and watching girls in the peep show
And going to the peep shows. Yeah.
and like he's got all these crazy fantasies, and it's just the story's totally insane. You know, I don't even know. I don't even know how to talk about this movie other than it's just like, yeah, it holds a very special place in my heart.
It is a mind worm, and it gets in there. There's a lot of costume changes, which I also like too, because she had a lot of costume changes too. She was Statue of Liberty, which I never saw the Statue of Liberty like that, but now I do, and it's kind of hot. She was a nun, and all others. The art direction was amazing, especially in her apartment.
Like a policewoman dominatrix.
Oh God, yeah, and then just the leather bullshit, and she wore that wig like she's like Blade Runner, like a whore from Blade Runner, which was kind of hot too. But I do remember the end. And the last sequence of this film is brilliant. It's up there with Last Mohican's ending sequence, I think. And it was like even Tony Perkins, because I remember he played like the Lutheran Death March, and then he went right into that show tune. Seth, you
Come on,
remember?
Get Happy, right?
Come on, Get Happy.
Come on, yeah. Dun 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 dun. Come on, get happy. And it really was good. The acting was brilliant there too. It was just phenomenal. I really wish I could see that in acting class. I want somebody to do that scene in acting class. That would be some hot shit.
Come to
Anyway,
class, Sean. come to class.
The
Yeah,
acting
all
chops,
right.
the acting chops and the chemistry between Anthony Perkins and why am I blanking on her name?
Kathleen Turner.
Kathleen Turner is breathtaking.
Mhm.
Yeah. What do you think?
She's just
Judy?
great.
She's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the film is what it is kind of surreal, very colorful. It's they chose a style and they stuck to it, and I really like that. I like when someone just, they pick for it and they go for it and they go all out. And yeah, I just really like her as an actress. I can't remember where this is in her career path or how famous
This
she
was
is
the
at this
same
point.
the same year as Romancing the Stone,
Romancing the
and
Stone. Okay.
2 years 2 years after Body Heat, which
She
was
had a
in
lot of
1982.
balls she had a lot of balls to do this
Yeah.
movie.
You
But
should
keep
watch
in mind
Body
it's a
Heat.
Ken Russell film, and he gets a pass to be weird.
Yeah.
He's
He did Alter States previous to this,
yeah.
1980, which was William Hurt's first movie, and that was a bigger hit. And I could see Ken Russell doing like a weirdo, his version of a love story, what that would look like, and that's what it was. But we're off to episode 14, which was my
I didn't
choice.
say anything. Can I
Oh.
just say something about this?
Yes, sir. I'm just trying to move it along, but yeah.
Yeah. Just there's moments in this movie that are completely like slummy, neon sign lit realistic. And then there are moments where it clearly looks like they are making no attempt for realism. You are seeing like they rented a studio, like a black box theater, lit it, like the love scenes in that.
Mhm.
That's what reminded me of David Lynch. That's why it was David Lynchy to me.
It is,
which I did like. Yeah.
I just wanted to put that in.
No, and
Cool.
Kathleen Turner really was one of the hottest things. And even Seth, I remember you said something before how Kathleen Turner's body now is average now. But in
You mean by
84,
today's-
Hollywood.
You mean
not
her body?
average.
Her body
Oh, yeah,
then,
by Hollywood
her
standards.
body then would be considered average now by Hollywood by
Yeah.
today's
and
standards.
Yeah.
she's still the hottest thing ever in it.
Yeah, I wrote a love poem.
But she really was gorgeous in this, how she owned her sexuality and accepted herself. And she used two different accents. When she was the whore, she didn't pronounce her R's. Anyway, so next for me was we did episode 14, which was The Void, which is something that I chose because I just used to, back in the day, I used to just watch trailers,
2016.
2016 back in the day. And when I would just watch trailers, I saw The Void. I'm like, this is amazing. I knew it was Canadians. Canadians can do horror well. So I Googled Showtime's NYC. There was one playing an hour from when I Googled it. I was like, hell with this. Went right to the IFC theater, saw it in the small room. It looked like film class. There was just 24 chairs and a smaller screen. And it was 90 minutes. Nobody took out their cell phone. Nobody made a peep, and nobody went to the bathroom even. And it was because there was respect for the film, because we knew we were watching something amazing. The box office was 80,000.
The
which
box
is,
office was
no. The budget was
the budget was
80,000.
80,000. The box office was 150,000.
Which to me that's like a hit.
It's
And
a
these
successful
guys.
film.
These guys, Jeremy Gillespie and Steven Kostanski, they do horror comedies. This is their only horror thriller. I just think that's weird. And the body work that these guys did, they had a monster shop that was brilliant. And the editing was perfect on doing the monster scary. I don't know what they did or how they did it, but they had some weirdo things with stilts and which was nuts. And even the dudes in the robes with the triangle on their faces and the door with the triangle. I was never more afraid of a triangle in my life. And I love the whole sacred geometry with the squares. And I also liked how people survived in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like two people survived in the end. I just like that. And actually two other people went to the chick and the dude. They went to like this weirdo phantasm world off world where they saw a giant pyramid. They went into the void. That last scene was like, it has come to, wait, what is it? It has all come to this. I just thought it was so creepy, so scary. And HP Lovecraft stuff. I really liked it. And I when I recommended it, I had Judy in mind because I know she's one of the horror queens out there. So
Yeah, what did you think, Judy?
Yes. I really liked it. I love any monster film, really. And I love I love all special effects teams. I just think that they're so much fun. And I love just the creativity of it. And they
There you
use
go.
reality. I'm trying to think, there's a movie where I remember being really excited and it was a great movie. And then all of a sudden there's like CGI ghosts. And I was like, you just killed it for me. I'm done. And so I like the fact that they went back to using real monsters, using real tangible items to create the horror of it. My only critique with the film was that I had a few questions, but they weren't like, I had a few questions, and then the ending
mean
didn't totally work for me.
Plot,
but
like plot consistency questions, you mean?
just think like questions that I have, like pertaining to, we don't need to get into it, but like at the house, or like who were the people that were running away, like what were they doing there? There was just a few things within the story. They might have done it on purpose. I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't know if that was a choice where they wanted to leave it blank, or if that was just they threw together a film and just had a few unanswered questions that they didn't completely work through. It could go either way with this film, which I actually do like if that was the case for it. And then the ending, I just didn't like. I didn't like so much. That might just be a personal preference, but for the fact that they only made it for $80,000 is pretty amazing.
Which is cheaper than a film school education.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
that's all I would really say about this film is that, like, to accomplish what they accomplished in this film for $80,000 should be a lesson to like anybody who wants to make a pretty sophisticated film for
Mhm.
not a lot of money, that like it can be done. I mean, it's a very encouraging. I think this is a great film for film students.
Yeah.
And people who are like making their first film, because like this is what I mean, to me it shows just a tremendous amount of cooperation and creativity to be able to squeeze
Mhm.
that much movie out of an $80,000 budget. I would have never guessed, if I hadn't known beforehand, that
No.
I would have thought at least $500,000, if not
Yeah.
more.
At least not.
Million.
I mean,
Yeah, I was gonna
they
say, it
had
looks
an
like 2
entire
million.
hospital, like with all these. I mean,
Maybe it was an abandoned hospital. And that's another
even
thing about
still, to
creativity.
take an abandoned hospital, and
Yeah,
make it look
find
like a real
one
hospital.
and
Who
get
knows what
the
they
fucking
did?
licensing. But even what Judy was saying about the creativity, yes, of the script, because they kept it all in one place, but also they made it about the universe. So it's all in a hospital, but you don't feel really confined because you go into outer space. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. I want to hear what Seth has to say.
I love the fact that you don't know the motivation of the cultists. I really like whenever a cult is presented in a horror movie, unless it's about how horrible the cult is. If the cult is just like they opened up a portal and this is the result, I like that they're just some spooky guys on the hill staring down like, I wonder what's going to happen when the monster comes, or we end up on the other side of the universe because the Necronomicon got opened and Cthulhu is crashing through worlds. It's a very Lovecraftian cosmic horror
It's
movie.
like that question, like why do these occultists do what they do? Because that's what they do.
Yeah, because you can't you can't figure out the pagan mind.
That's just what they do.
You know? Yeah, it's like
the earth.
Sometimes it's an interesting concept.
The guy
Sometimes
who's
you
the
have to
head
do
of
as
the
an
cult
actor.
goes into it a little bit.
Yeah, he did it. Okay, so
He
the doctor started the cult to get power, cosmic power, to bring his daughter back from the dead.
Right.
And he did, and that's why he's using the main dude's main squeeze, because she's pregnant, so he could bring her like daughter back. And when she comes back, she's a monster, and you know, and that's what the thing. And it's true, the whiny guy who got captured, he did say that the doctor would give people drugs and meth, and they would all fuck each other and stuff, and that's why he found the Polaroid pictures in like the thing. So that was like the little loose explanation they had there.
do
But
weird stuff to corpses.
Yeah.
Or I'm not
It-
sure if they were dead.
And
Yeah.
you think, no, they were alive. They couldn't die, even though they wanted to. That's what he said. There's an ambulance coming.
They're coming to take you away,
The
Sean.
last thing I want to add about this movie is that they cast it really well.
Oh yeah.
And they so frequently in horror movies you have a lot of screaming women. And a lot of there's tropes about it, the screaming woman in the horror film. And there's the one nurse character. She's actually if people haven't seen it, she's one of the survivors, but she does a lot of screaming and like playing scared in the movie. But it works and it's effective, and I don't dislike her. Like, she plays real in the movie. She
wants to stay alive. That's
Yeah.
why she was screaming and weird. She wasn't just scared. She wants to stay alive.
It wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna scream and cry now. Like, it was like her character. She did it really well, and I didn't want to like slap her.
Yeah, that's a good point, because a lot of that screaming, and then as an audience member, you see the girl screaming and scared, so you should be scared, but it's a lot of that stuff. But she wasn't. Yeah, she was scared, but she wanted to stay alive. Now I see, because you said that, I never really noticed it. But yeah, there was that layer there. And so moving on to episode 15 was Judy's choice, called Rubber, from 2010. Judy, can you please explain to the audience why you chose Rubber?
Okay, so I chose this because we actually had, I don't even remember who it was, some utility person come over, and I was talking to him about how I do a podcast on obscure films. And he said, have you ever seen Rubber? And I was like, no, what's it about? And he said, a killer tire. And I was like, oh my God. And he basically explained it to me. He said, I watched it and I hated it. He said, but by the end of it, I really liked it. And then I was mad that I liked this film that I hated so much. And I was like, that sounds amazing. So I actually picked this film never having seen it before.
First one like that.
And I described it to you guys, and it's one of those films where I think it sounded interesting for me to watch, which made it worth my time. It's one of those, and I do think it's one of those word of mouth films where you hear it from someone else. Now, like, I would say that about it, guys. It was interesting. You do see a tire moving, so it was definitely creative. And it was like kind of a satire. So it was like it was definitely a horror comedy, and it was all about the fourth wall, Anyway, you guys say something. What'd you think?
Seth, how did you like the acting?
I really like this movie.
I thought the tire was great.
I'm not all about the acting, guys. I'm an acting coach. I mean, look, Sean's a writer, and he's obviously not all about the writing. If
I love cinema.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, but the acting in this is good. It's really solid. These guys did commercials, right? Because the stuff with the tire is like amazing shots.
It was great footage.
Practical effects of the tire, and you can't figure out
they
how
made it a character. They made the tire a character, which was great. The tire had motivations, it had a sense of humor, it had revenge.
It reminds me of
it had a real personality.
There you go. Thank you, Abram.
When you see something in a commercial and they have like 60 seconds to like get it across that it's a character, like the parquet butter thing, or the
got milk stuff from the 90s.
Or, the Limu Emu, the tire is like that. And you watch his power grow, and he starts off like kind of mischievous, and by the end he seems to be taking over Hollywood, if not the world. And then you have these actors watching him with binoculars.
It gets meta, it breaks the fourth wall very well. It breaks the fourth wall completely, which is pretty cool. That's what Twin Peaks tried to do.
This movie, it's like the more the tire, every time you see the tire kill something a certain way, at least in my experience, it's like I can't wait to see how he's going to kill the next thing. It's like the whole movie. I'm just like, how's it going to? If you're actually like really trying to, the plot is kind of weird and crazy and French and
it's French
all over the place, and
very French, but it's shot with an American cast in America. So
right, but from a story standpoint,
the
story is desperately trying to say something deep in only a way that a French writer could do.
by not being serious. It's like the
Right.
French get deep with comedy. It does, yeah. It goes deep. That actor Steven Spinella, who has a 4-minute monologue uncut in the beginning, is a brilliant actor. That guy's amazing. I'm surprised. I mean, I looked him up. He does get a lot of work as like the dude in the one procedural show, like 3 times a year, whatever. But he's fantastic. Wings Hauser is in this, who was also in Beastmaster Tool Portal Through Time, where he has a tarantula come out of his mouth. I know Wings Hauser from that. They did make the tire move very well. It was moving
Yeah,
by
that was the
itself. It
coolest.
would turn and go and turn and go.
The
And then it had a
animation of the
cycle
tire.
reference.
Yeah, the animation of the tire is probably the most mesmerizing, interesting thing about the film, just from a visual standpoint. Just like watching how the tire does all that stuff it makes this film worth watching in and of itself.
Mhm.
I think it's like a filmmaker's movie because a lot of the footage, I think at least 1/3 of the movie's the tire going around, and a filmmaker, a true student filmmaker, doesn't like actors. They just want to film stuff. They can make it all about them. But it was kind of strange, and I liked that. I really did like the meta, and they worked it in well. And they had the audience watching the movie as we were watching the whole thing, and it was just device after device after device. But somehow it just, if you do that, not to, if you're going to have a device, have 3 or 4, make it interesting. Some people, they just have one device as a screenwriting problem that they got to get around anyway. But that brings us to episode 16, which was the Dunwich Horror, which was chosen by Seth Michael. Seth Michael, why did you choose the Dunwich Horror?
Because we got on an H.P. Lovecraft theme with The Void, and I thought that was the greatest H.P. Lovecraft movie that wasn't an H.P. Lovecraft movie. And H.P. Lovecraft stories, when adapted to film, are almost always awful.
That's true.
The only 2 things that I think are good are, Lovecraft County is just bouncing a ball creatively off a wall that's H.P. Lovecraft. It's not.
There was one in '85 that was good.
And
go ahead, keep on. I'll look it up. Go ahead.
Okay, but this is Dunwich Horror, and this is from a time where
No. Seth,
What?
it's Dunwich Horror based on the Dunwich Horror.
Oh yeah, they say Dunwich,
Right.
but
Important distinction.
Yes, everyone in the movie, because it's a Roger Corman film, pronounces the name of the village wrong. They say Dunwich. But the name of he would have pronounced it Dunwich, like Greenwich Village, not Greenwich Village.
Or Greenwich.
Or Greenwich Village, yeah. So anyway, this is in the 70s. The story
1970 to be precise.
1970. And so the actual story is in the 30s. What else? I mean, it has an amazing opening animation.
I found it.
Shout out to Danicus, who was a guest guy on Danicus Prime.
Wait, I'm going to interrupt. 1986's From Beyond, directed by Stuart Gordon, stars Jeffrey Combs, the famous Jeffrey Combs, and that was one of the few good H.P. Lovecraft ones, even though this is one from a very, very short H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, H.P. Lovecraft stories are only good like Reanimator if they're not like the story. If they just throw the ball,
if they adapt, they have to adapt it.
It's like
you have to adapt
loose
it.
adaptation, yeah.
Because H.P. Lovecraft, it's all inner monologue. You really need to adapt it well.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is Sandra Dee and the guy Dean Stockwell, who is doing an incredible performance.
One of the most brilliant performances I have ever seen, and it was done in a movie that you could find in a discount bin at Walmart.
It's the
most brilliant performance I've ever seen.
If he goes too far into Charles Manson world, you'd be like, why is Sandra Dee hanging out with him? But if he was so normal that you were like, this guy's not a wizard, you wouldn't believe it either. So it's just like that kind of weird 70s guy who's into free love and the occult. And
that taffeta tie. Remember, he just had a little dickie tied in.
Yeah. Yeah, everything spooky about the 70s, the end of the 60s, beginning is in this movie. But not like spooky like Rosemary's Baby spooky. Spooky like Roger Corman does Rosemary's Baby meets H.P. Lovecraft.
Abram, this movie seems like a movie you would not have enjoyed to me.
No, I enjoyed it. Because of the over-the-top performance by the lead.
Stockwell.
Yeah, Dean Stockwell. His performance mixed with the, like, I guess, the design and photography, the cinematography, the style of the film I really liked. And his acting, I think, made the film very entertaining because it was so weird, and it was borderline funny. Like, I didn't take, like, this wasn't a scary movie at all.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
like, it wasn't
barely creepy. It was just like entertaining.
Silly. It was a silly movie. And I like silly horror movies, and that's what this was to me. This was a silly horror movie that was fun and campy, and I enjoyed it.
But I remember seeing this in like the discount bin, and I think I bought a kung fu movie instead. I think, but it's
like this is like one of those
right.
movies where, like, if it's movie night, you want to see a kung fu movie or you want to see this movie. It's kind of the same thing.
I guess this is a movie I find that you could just talk through.
That's what I'm saying. It's a movie you can kind of have on, like, at a party
Yeah,
where you're
there you
sort of
go.
watching it and you're sort of like, it's a fun party movie.
And
No,
Talia
you
Shire
could
was
play
in
some
this.
really good music and turn the sound off of this one.
Yeah, exactly. You could
project
totally
it on
do
a
that.
screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is
On a
this
screen,
is a great movie. Like, it is a quintessential cult horror film in the sense that, like, if you have a really cool hipster bar, and if you're the owner of a really, like, hipstery kind of bar in Brooklyn, perhaps, let's say Bushwick, and you had a nice wall with blank space on it, you could project this film on there with, turn the sound off, play some funky music in the background, and all the hipsters will think it's so cool.
I look like I'm from that movie. Look at my hair.
See, so what
You
you
look
know
like
at this
Shakespeare.
point, because there's so many uncreative places in the world, and Abram Isaac just pitched a great idea for your restaurant or bar or party.
Yeah.
Feel
You
that.
You heard it
can,
here
you can do
first.
most of our films like that, but this one's a really good one for that.
You do it. And if you're in New York, you should rent a room in the Chelsea Hotel and do it there. 'Cause they're on-
Judy, I just wanted to get your view on the Dunwich Horror 1970.
I can't even hear you anymore. I might have to cut out. I'm having
Okay, it's all right. We're gonna move it along now.
having
Oh no.
Somebody's having a meltdown.
Tell him to watch It
Yeah.
Happens in Vegas. Anyway, so we're gonna move
Someone is
on.
watching it happen in Vegas.
Hold on, I'll leave for just a second.
You bastard! We're gonna okay, Judy. Judy will be with us in a second. We're gonna move on to episode 17, which was my choice, Clue, which is my favorite movie of all time. I've seen it well over 100 times. I would watch it after Saturday morning cartoons. When I was a kid, my mom taped it off at HBO. I watched it for years like that. When I was feeling depressed in New York, I bought it on DVD for like $4.96. Watched it there. When I went to sleep, I would put it on, go to sleep, wake up in the morning, watch it again. I still watch it. When I watched it to do the show, I was still laughing the whole time. Tim Curry is brilliant in it. He carries the whole thing. It plays like a play in a theater, which I like about it. I loved all the costumes. Yvette has my heart. And okay, so
I'll be
Seth,
right back.
Okay. Seth, what did you think about Clue?
See, Clue's great. I mean, it's an example of very theatrical actors doing heightened truth in a film. And they would fit in with all the cast members of what happens in
Saturday Night
Vegas,
Live.
except for the
Yeah.
two leads, because
Yeah.
that's heightened truth, and then there's bad heightened truth.
And okay,
And
I
this
get
is-
it. I get it. I get it.
Okay. And
what was
then
I going to say?
Oh wait, go on.
Well, no. Go ahead. I just wanted to see if which cast member would you be? I would like to be
Sadly-
Professor Plum.
Sadly, I would be Martin Mull's character, and
You would
he's the
okay. You would be Colonel
weakest
Mustard. Okay.
performance.
I made my parents get this board game as a kid. You know, I just love, and even the screenwriting thing, how there's 3 different endings. I think that's brilliant. You have a murder mystery with 3 endings. That's the thing, though. Murder mysteries, there's always one ending, and some you could watch over again, like Murder on Orient Express. You could watch, it's just a great movie. But murder mysteries at its core, once you find out the killer, then it's fine. But here, which one of us did it? So there's that heightened reality. 2, it happens 3 different ways, which is brilliant. And the third one, where Wadsworth is the killer, is you killed off my network of spies and informants. You saved me a lot of trouble, and now I'm going to keep right on going blackmailing you all. The world opens up like Blade Runner. In the end of Blade Runner, Tears and Rain, the world opens up. And that same thing happens in Clue when communism was just a red herring. I love that. I love this. If I had $1 million, tens of millions of dollars, I would build a house like the house in Clue and live there. I'm not kidding.
Would you kill people in it?
I would, well, like once a year, we would do a whole fucking thing. Yeah. Let us in, let us out, let us out.
I think you should invite fans of Ridley Scott who are already dying because you just compared Clue to Blade Runner's ending being the same. But that's okay. There were 2 cuts of Clue and 9 cuts of Blade Runner, right?
Or something.
Yeah.
I almost met Jonathan Lynn once. I brought the DVD for him to sign it, but I was too scared to talk to him because I didn't want to seem like a weirdo saying, "Hey, I saw Clue
emailed
over
with him
100
back and
times."
forth because his aunt was my Shakespeare teacher. I was trying to find out where she was, and unfortunately, she had died. But he was nice enough to get back to me about that. Oh, we do make one mistake in this episode.
What's
You
that?
say it's the only movie based off of a board game, and it's not. There's another obscure film based off a board game. Do you know what it is?
No.
E5. You sank my battleship. Battleship was made.
Oh,
So yeah.
I actually saw some of that. That shit ain't bad. Honestly, Battleship wasn't that bad.
Really?
No, it was pretty good. They had a non-actor in there who was really good. Anyway, so that brings us to episode 18, which
Did
was
we
Seth
lose
Michael's
50%?
choice.
Did we get hit
Huh?
by like a photon torpedo or something and lose 50% of the crew right now?
I'm back.
There
Okay,
you
you're
go.
back. Okay. All right.
Abram, we're going to move on to Seth's choice, episode 18, which was Private Practices, the story of a sex surrogate. And this movie embarrassed me. I think I made an asshole out of myself during the video because this movie just rocked my core. 1985, it was shot in 1983 by a guy named Kirby Dick, who does only documentaries, I guess. Shout out to Maureen Sullivan. I'm sure she's see, I can't even think of a joke because I'm so awestruck. We don't know about the box office or the budget. So Seth Michael, why did you choose this movie?
I thought we hadn't done a documentary, and I thought, what is the weirdest documentary, like the most off subject for a documentary? And first I thought Cane Toads, which is about populating Australia with a non-native species, the cane toad, and how they took over. But then I thought, oh, no, not cane toad. The one about the sex surrogate and the 2 guys having therapy with her.
Jesus, just even thinking about it.
And
Those guys, man. John, that John guy, man.
and Kipper.
Oh God, John.
And Kirby Dick, by
Oh,
the way, went on
Jesus.
to make a movie called This Film Is Not Yet Rated. And he made that because he couldn't
was
get a
it.
rating on this film because he had to keep submitting footage of this film. He got frustrated, so he decided to make a movie investigating the rating system. So
It is. I could see that because this movie is kind of like a documentary about masturbation, and who wants to talk about that? But they went into Mo Sullivan and her family and stuff, and I saw the Fred Wiseman effect there because she really put her father in a corner, and he just sat there and just took it, and he said he felt like a whore in a church, which I thought was fitting to like the whole thing. But Maureen Sullivan, she was doing God's work. Bless her heart. And I still do. I was doing that trick where you look yourself naked in the
I mean,
mirror
I
and
think
point out
somebody
parts of
needs
yourself
to.
you don't like.
I think somebody needs to explain like what sex surrogacy is. You know.
So sex surrogates work with a psychotherapist. That way they're not just an escort. You have to be approved by your psychotherapist
Oh God.
to have one. And 40-year-old virgins or guys who are married and their wife died or divorced them and haven't had to guys who can't be physically intimate in like 6 to 10 sessions to overcome their anxiety, shyness, early onset ejaculation, unable to get hard, all these issues. They work it out with a sex surrogate. And I know a lot about this because in the Village Voice, there were always ads for this. And
Wait, what?
yeah, and I called one once and went to be interviewed, but it was way too expensive on the Upper West Side near the Museum of Natural History. And the therapist who ran it, told me two things that I remember. Number one, lower my expectations. These girls are not models, okay, Mr. May? That's what she said. And two, if I didn't find a way to borrow this money, I would probably never lose my virginity in my life.
They're like such scamsters. These
that's-
psychotherapists. What a scam. Oh man, I don't even know what to say about this film. I was
It was the
surprised
greatest documentary ever.
Yeah, I was surprised by how much I warmed up to it with going into it with a really negative bias. I had a really negative bias going into it, thinking that this is really a dysfunctional way to address your sexual dysfunction as a man. But then I went into it just feeling like a lot of sympathy for each of the characters, and I found it just sort of fascinating how much dignity, how much dignity all the subjects were treated with, considering how hard it is to make a film like this not come off exploitative. I don't know how he did it, but I did not feel like any of the people in this film were being exploited. And I was sure that I would feel that way. And so that's brilliant, that they could take a subject that I'm already have a strong bias against it, and then convince me like to become sympathetic, not only to the characters, but to the actual,
Subject.
story itself, the subject itself. And while I still think that sex surrogacy is not a good idea, I think you're better off just go, the whole like working with the therapist and talking it out with them and then going
Get
with
naked.
It's sort of weird to me. I
You had to
just don't
stop
like
the
it.
movie several
I like
times.
I think the old-fashioned prostitute is a better way to deal with this problem. And performance anxiety, all the issues that these guys had. I don't think that this therapy actually really worked. I think maybe it might have given them a little bit of a confidence to go on to the next thing. But we know from the story of the younger guy that we don't know anything about what happened with the older subject, but the younger guy, he went on to continue to struggle and have anxiety and whatever. Then finally, like did like a mail order bride type thing, and got married, settled down, got married, and had some kids. And who knows? Would he have been able to do that if he probably would have found some way to get married and have kids if that was his goal.
You see, and that's another thing. Let me,
But
because
it doesn't make the documentary any less fascinating.
no, it is fascinating because he gets it, because then you like get into your own head about it. And for me, and one of my experiences there, I'm looking at that Kipper guy. He has a near perfect body, first of all, because you see everything. He has he looks like Jan Michael Vincent with a little snaggletooth and like a weird hair, but that's it.
He's a handsome guy who
thought he
looks a
looked like
little
William
goofy.
He is.
He's a goofy
But
looking
that's the
handsome
thing.
guy.
No, I'm thinking as like a fat kid, I couldn't get chicks. I had to work with alcohol and schmooze and charm and being funny. But if I had a body like that, I would clean up. And he still couldn't do
Tells
it.
you that
Stop
everybody's
eating.
terrified of something.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
But no, but it's like it's all in his head. That's all. That's
Yeah,
I
but
mean, it was fast.
It's amazing the stories you tell yourself.
Yeah. And I like the scene where he's sitting there with his brother smoking cigarettes, talking about chicks, man. I really like that.
I wish Judy was still here, because Judy and I worked for a dating company, and there was no sex surrogate, but Judy did mock dating. Like, she would pretend to be on a date with the guy, and the guy who was the facilitator would write down notes about what they did wrong. Like, you never asked her about her, or you never make eye contact. These guys were like curled into balls. Like, they were so nervous.
This movie gives me seizures, awkward seizures I get. Go ahead, Seth. I'm sorry.
No, nothing. There was no like physical stuff. It was just at a coffee bar, and Judy would show up, and the guys couldn't handle it. And they had been working with improvisation with me and other dating techniques. But you can imagine, like, if you can't do that, right? How are you gonna navigate, unless it's an arranged marriage and your mom and dad coach you?
I guess. Anyway, so let's go off to episode 19, which was American Mary from 2012. This was Judy's recommendation, but she's undisposed at the moment. So why don't we kick it off with Abram? What did you think about American Mary?
I liked American Mary. I like any kind of movie that's over the top. The premise is like way over the top and ridiculous, but it's still within that ridiculousness. The story and the plot remains pretty tight, and like it just keeps getting more and more outrageous as it goes along. As you can see from the examples of the films that I've chosen kind of follow that pattern. So I was definitely on board with this film from the jump. We're talking about a young surgery, and I guess she's entering her residency
Medical
phase
student.
of her medical school situation, and she's got an abusive professor who sexually assaults her, rapes her, drugs her, and then she starts getting these weirdos that want her to do these crazy surgeries on them. Oh, Judy's here. Well, you can unmute yourself.
She's not here. She's
Judy, you can unmute yourself if you want to do audio
I'm
only.
here.
Okay.
Hi.
Okay.
Hi, Judy. We're talking about American Mary.
Yeah. And I was just sort of going over the premise of it and how I like it because it's outrageous from the jump, and it just gets more and more outrageous as it goes along. And I love that kind of storytelling. I liked it. I thought it was, for a kind of campy body horror film, it was nearly perfect for me. I don't want to spoil any of it. It's just,
Well, that's a good thing. Well, it's a good thing if you want to go see it because it's absolutely free everywhere. I'm sure it's free on YouTube. Anyway, Judy, why did you choose American Mary? Because I was curious watching the movie. I'm like, why did Judy make me watch this?
I chose it. This was a period of time in 2012 where I was watching a lot of movies, and I don't know. I think I liked it when it came out, and then when I watched it again, I was sort of 20 minutes in, going, did I like this movie? What did I pick about this movie? Yeah, I mean, I can see how. Okay, I like how it picks a tone and it goes with it, and it's also showing a culture that does exist, like people, altering their bodies extremely. Like that whole the twin sisters, they have the lace on their back, right?
Yeah.
People do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they get horns. They get horns put
Yeah.
into their
Oh,
skull.
God.
There's crazy stuff that people do. So it really, I started Googling and I was like, oh, this world actually exists. So I did like that. I just I don't know, maybe I've changed in the past 10 years. There was just I don't know, there was like no character that I really liked. I think that was my biggest issue, is like
Yeah.
I wasn't rooting for anybody. And then I think the reason I sort of got a little bit pissed off, so I liked the film and I didn't like the film at the same time, is because every time I was like close to like rooting for a character, like any of them, then they did something that I was like, yeah, no, I don't care anymore.
I love films like that, though. I like films where you like kind of sympathize, and then you're like, oh no, these people are fucked up, and then you realize, wait a minute, I'm like that, and so is everybody else. I know it's an extreme film, but in a sense, it's
Yeah.
like if you can successfully tell an interesting story where everybody is flawed and maybe even you don't like anybody in it, like I still think I think that's funny. Like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think David Mamet does that well. I think the Safdie brothers do it well. I don't think you have to. I don't think every movie you have to really care about the characters. Like, it's a
I watched
story.
their next film, and they don't do likable characters. I think that's kind of their brand, is they do.
They don't have a brand. They don't have a
have-
style.
They absolutely have a brand.
They
Have
don't
you
have a
watched more than
brand.
one movie of theirs?
Man, they don't have. Go ahead. Okay.
Look, they're
Sorry.
Canadian horror people, and the god of Canadian horror is David Cronenberg, and they got the rights to remake a Cronenberg film, Rabid, his second movie.
Oh, you mean the rights that nobody else wanted, that he didn't want to buy
that's not
back?
true.
No, they were
brought
just
them
cheap
in.
ass.
Dude, are you going to argue with me because
No,
of what
no.
you feel? Or
He
you
doesn't
actually
like the
feel
movie. He doesn't
something
like
on
the
the net?
movie. Sean, you can not like a movie and not have to justify it if you don't.
Okay.
You just don't like
Yeah.
it. Like you're
I
you're-
just don't like
I
it.
was not a
Seth,
fan.
like, or you can
Dunwich
you can
Horror.
also love a movie and not have to justify it. with
Okay,
some
Seth,
kind of
I was
ridiculous
interrupting. I
argument
apologize.
either.
Whether they
I'm
have
sorry.
a brand or they're just incapable of making likable characters, they've made 3 films. Hooker in a Car Trunk, I think, or something like that.
Yes.
And then
Like that's
this
a great
one.
title. I'm sorry, that's a great title for
It's a
a
great
film.
title.
Sounds like
And,
Spit
they
on
put
Your
their
Grave.
dad in all their movies because he funded the first one.
Of
And
course.
they're twin girls. And I'm not saying they're as good as the twins who wrote Casablanca. I think they're interesting. I'm biased. I like when horror meets farce.
Yes,
Because
because that's
Alan
you.
Arkin told me that's my genre.
That's your style, Seth. You guys are freezing up on me. Where are they? Look at that face right there. That is a face. What happened to you guys?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. He's back. We're recording in progress again. So what were you saying?
I was going to get into why I didn't like this movie, and
Oh.
it depresses me. I don't like it. Maybe I'm a little jealous. I don't know. Saska sisters, just please understand. I hope you watch this video, and let me just explain. Yes, yes, I know I'm unfair. I'm sure I would love to hang out with either of you. I don't even know your names, Jen and Sylvia. Hello, girls, ladies. I would love to hang out with you. I didn't like your movie, but I respect both of you. I'm just saying. Let me
How dare
say
you.
this. let me just say this like I'm talking to Jen and
Why don't
Sylvia.
you buy
Let me
some
look
of
them in
their
the
merch?
eye.
Why
Let
don't
me-
you
let
buy
me look
some of
them in
their
the
merch?
eye.
They have merch. You should buy some of their merch.
I'll buy one of their
You
coffee
written a
mugs.
letter-
I
you wrote a
promise.
letter to Vincent Gallo. You
No.
wrote an email.
Oh.
He got back to you. Why
He
don't you
did.
write a letter to them?
I'll write a letter with. I'll have the mug. I'll send them a picture with me and their mug. Okay, Jen and Sylvia. I appreciate you love America. So do I. I don't know why you called it American Mary. Two. One of the things about this movie is that I noticed the lighting fixtures first. They were amazing lighting fixtures. I just didn't know why I was noticing them. I did love all the costumes. A main character needs to have depth. Let me mention that. And if it's why did the professor only curse at Mary? I would have. I mean, I would have bought in if he treated one student nice and then cursed at Mary, like he just treated her different.
That is how misogynistic men act towards women that they're attracted to.
But I don't know if
Period.
he was. Yeah, great. I know, but he could have just been an asshole. I don't know who he is if he's just cursing at her.
It made perfect sense.
No, it did no,
Yes,
no, because then how do you know he doesn't treat everybody like that? He can talk to the boys like that.
I want to.
You're saying he talked to everyone like that, or he didn't?
He could. You don't know because he only talks to Mary.
Just go back and listen to what I just said. He treated her the way misogynistic men treat women that they are attracted to, particularly if those women aren't interested in them that way. And his behavior subsequent to that is consistent with that phenomenon. He drugged and raped her. That's another thing misogynistic men do, really evil misogynistic men do to women that are out of their league or that are not attracted to them. They get angry. Now, it's hard for normal men to understand that because normal men are used to rejection and they just deal with it. But sociopathic men, particularly guys like, in an industry that heavily like has a lot of sociopaths and like psychopath. You have to be a little bit psychopathic to want to like cut people's bodies open all the time. And like I think it's perfectly consistent. Like I don't understand why do you have a problem with that?
No, I just thought that would be better brought to the surface of the film if you saw the professor be nice to a boy student and then be mean to her, or nice to a boy and a girl student and then be mean to her, because to me this professor is just one dimensional.
Sean, like you always do.
This is what happens when you back him into a corner. When you put
he always does this. He can never admit that he's wrong.
So we're going to invite the Saskia sisters.
This movie does make me crazy.
With Sean.
Wait, Jen and Sylvia, I saw the movie twice. I did see the movie twice. That counts for something.
Likes it, and he liked the movie, and he's angry that he liked it, and he's taking it out on
jealous. Girls, I'm jealous. Girls, I'm jealous, please.
What thing about twins? Like
what?
About twins or something? Yeah.
Mangala loved twins. See? Mangala loved twins.
Oh, God.
You love to experiment.
I had
Can we move on?
So.
Can we move on?
Yeah, because we got to wrap this up. We're getting
all right. Episode 20, Surfwise by Abram. Abram, why did you choose this movie?
I lost this text real quick. Let me just pull it up.
This is from 2007.
Information. I picked this movie because my friend Lauren Kinchlow, shout out to Lauren Kinchlow, was like, "Oh my God, Abram, you got to see this movie. It's about he's like a Jewish doctor, and he was like born like a long time ago. He's old, and like he was a surfer, and he was like he had 2 failed marriages, and then he said like the biggest epiphany he ever had in his life was when he met this girl who taught him how to eat pussy, and that changed everything for him. And then he went on a mission to have sex with all these different women to finally find the woman who's going to have 10 kids with. And then
he had a rating system. She was 97. His wife was a 97
out of 100, and that's where he stopped and he never got to 100 because he found the woman who had the highest score that he could ever imagine. And then they decided to get married, and they had a bunch of kids, and they never sent the kids
9.
to school, and they stayed on. They all lived in a tiny Winnebago, and they traveled around, and all they did was surf, and they
have sex every night. They had
parents
sex every night with the kids in the thing.
and the kids, would have to deal with that. And the kids grew up like in this really wild way, but they all like won surfing competition. It's just about this crazy surf family with this like guy who thought of himself like I think he genuinely looked at himself as like a very conventional man who simply just wanted to be with his wife and children and have them near and teach them how to surf and teach them discipline and let them figure the rest out themselves and teach them how to be good people. And that was the most important thing. And he went from a more complicated, confusing life to a simpler, more fulfilling life. And none of the kids really would have denied that in the film. Like they could complain and bitch about all the things that he did wrong as a father, but none of them say like they didn't give them this incredible gift and advantage over other, like this wisdom that average people just don't get, not having lived that kind of lifestyle. So I just think it's a fascinating story about a family that lives a very different lifestyle than most families, kind of off the grid. Kids didn't go to school, but many of the kids turned out. I mean, most of the kids turned out all right.
They had a #1 hit.
Yeah, two of them I think were in a band together. Had not a number one hit, not a number one hit, but it was a charting hit in the 90s. One of them went on to be a successful painter and screenwriter. There are a couple of them were
Ron
painters.
was a screenwriter.
They're all
the oldest was a businessman.
Yeah, the oldest became successful in business. They all did fine, with all their complaints and everything. And then you have like this beautiful, they have this nice reunion at the end. Also shout out to the director,
Doug Prey.
Like, man, documentary filmmaking is really difficult. And to make it like a real narrative, like this is a real film. This is not like watching it's not like a pedantic, like academic documentary style, like, and it doesn't have this sort of brainwashy kind of like, we're going to get you to believe something kind of thing that a lot of it's not propaganda.
Yeah.
It's a really good balanced film. So
Yeah,
that's
because
all.
you saw the father be a jerk to one of the sons. And I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was cut in a way to make these people, I think, look balanced. Like that, the perspectives at least were balanced out. Anyway,
Seth,
Judy, what do you think?
Oh, Judy, what do you
I thought it was an excellent documentary film for similar reasons to what you were just mentioning, Abram, about how a lot of times in documentaries, it's kind of like a propaganda piece for their side of the story. And I felt with this documentary, it was great because, like, just for example, what he mentioned about them having sex every night with the kids in the thing. And part of me was like, okay, that's different. And like part of me, because I liked them throughout the whole movie, wanted to be like, well, maybe that's okay. Maybe that's just like a different way. But then the other part of me is like, oh my God, no, that's like traumatic. Like, but what they're describing. So I kind of like that they sort of, and then they talk about.
Do you remember what Doc's response was to that?
He has urges.
No, that's not what he said.
No, I don't know.
What he said was, for thousands of years, we lived in caves and mom and dad would be, humping in the background and the kids would just be like playing or doing whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, mom and dad are doing their thing. And if you think that's bad, I'll tell you what's really bad is the sound of a father beating the mother,
Yeah.
So
Oh, wait,
like,
he says that.
yeah, he's like, if you think that's bad, consider like, the kinds of things that spouses do to each other that's really bad in front of the kids.
Yeah.
Cutting
That just
each other
sounds like
down.
making an excuse.
It is an
No.
excuse.
I just
I was going to
punched-
say that's a manipulation technique.
Well, okay.
Anyway,
Fair
well,
enough.
we're getting into it, but I think that's what I liked about the film is it really, and just going back to the ending, he said something that one of the sons mentioned something that the father wrote in his book about how he thinks society should always be in pursuit of their next meal, that there's something to like the primal urge of it, and people nowadays are too lazy. And what I will say is that even though his children, a lot of them did end up going to therapy, but I feel like everybody kind of ends up going to therapy nowadays. But they all turned out really well. They don't, like, he raised a group of children and none of them are quitters. They make it work. They just go on. And I really think that that is admirable, because many parents mess up. You know, I'm a parent and I'm sure I'm going to mess up at something, you know, or they'll tell me what I did wrong, I don't know, and end up in therapy for it. But his kids all turned out pretty successful, and they just ended up rolling with the punches. So I don't know. I just thought it was a really great movie just because of that. Just the fact that he was able to tell the story, and not really give you his opinion on it was really great. Okay.
Where's
Cool,
your
thanks, Judy.
Where's your family? I can't comment on this because I don't even have a wife or a kid. This guy's doing better than most people do with like one wife and one kid. This guy had 10. So like we say, where's your movie? I say to myself, where's your family? So I can't criticize this guy. I mean, I think it's a great documentary. I think both the documentaries we did are great examples of documentaries.
Yes.
As opposed to propaganda films, and it's none of these are advertisements for
No.
these guys.
Yes, that's a great way to say it.
They're not yeah.
Telling a story.
Like when you go to a movie and someone is saying, well, this is the right way to be, the subject of my
Insulting.
documentary, that's a propaganda film. And this is no way a propaganda film. And it's in America. Like, what other country? Like, if you're from another country, you should watch this movie back to back with the other documentary. Because what other country would allow?
It's America. No, that's true, Seth. No, that is true. And I think I said enough about Surfwise. God bless
I
the
think we can
Pascal's
move it on.
family.
Yeah.
So episode 21 was my choice, a movie from
Last
1990.
movie of the season.
Yes, last movie of our 2021 season. It was called Arizona Dream from 1993, I think.
94.
It was 94, but I don't know. I saw 94 once, but I saw it elsewhere as 93.
It was
so
released
it was one of
in
those
Europe,
things.
and first it was released in Europe in 93, and then it was released in 90. Then it was released in theaters in 94 in the United States.
And the director is Emir Kusturica.
I think
And
it's Kusturica. Yeah.
Costa Rica. I was rewatching the episode and you told me how to say it. So I was rewatching you teaching me how to say it
That's
before. But starring Johnny Depp, Lily Taylor, Jerry Lewis, who didn't do much beyond his own films, Faye Dunaway, and Vincent Gallo, who I emailed again today with the link to the video for Arizona Dream. So who knows?
That's cool, man. Maybe he'll watch.
Yeah, man. Me and Vince, man, we're exchanging emails.
Maybe he'll send you a cease and desist letter.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. He's like, who is this jerk emailing me? Oh my, again with this guy? He could just block me. We'll see what happens.
My sense about Vincent Gallo is like he's pretty much an all-around nice guy.
Yeah.
He
He
wants
is,
to get along
yeah.
with people. He doesn't strike me as like this crazy asshole that people try to make him out to be.
I've seen him in interviews where people try to poke at him, and he does. I've seen him in interviews where people do just try to poke at him. There was one where it was him and 3 other film critics, and they were trying to explain to him how Buffalo 66 isn't a good movie, and he's like, no, and he's giving them film essays left and right. Man, it was. I'll try to link that in this video below. I'll try to find that interview again and put it in here. But I do like this movie. It's a very French. It goes, it moves the takes. They stage out the takes with blocking and stuff, which I do like. It seems like a Frenchman's homage to America, because Jerry Lewis, he sells Cadillacs and he wants to bring Johnny Depp in. And it's kind of weird because Vincent Gallo picks up Johnny Depp as a gamesman working in the Hudson River in New York, gives him a pill. Johnny Depp goes to sleep in Vincent's magenta convertible Cadillac, and then Johnny wakes up there in Arizona. Like, wait a second, did you drive from New York to Arizona in one pill trip? You know what I'm saying? So it's like a dream. It's dreamlike. The scene where Jerry Lewis dies in the ambulance was amazing. I rewound that a couple times just so I could see with the music, and they had this chanting drum beat, like a drum circle, and that to me, that kind of music is just pure life. Makes it really tribal. It's about life, and I just really like how they did that. Lily Taylor was one of the hottest things. I know I've said that a few times, but there's all different types of beauty, and Lily Taylor does have a slice of that beauty, especially in this film. Uh, Judy, what did you think of Arizona Dream?
I really liked it. As I said, and I still recall, like this is a film. I don't know how exactly you would do it, but I would love to see it as a play. The characters are just great. The characters are written really well. They're just fully realized, kind of the opposite, I'll say, of American Mary. They're fully worked on. They're, unpredictable. And I love how they play off of each other. The cast is just like this. I think this is one of the films we said we wouldn't even recast at all.
Yeah, it's
Like,
perfect.
everybody was just great. It was a little weird, but I don't know, I liked it. And I'll just say, I don't think it's a film for everybody. I think it's a film for people who like eccentric, obscure films. It's a perfect film for our podcast,
Yeah.
or for people. But the average film goer might be like, I don't know, I don't really get it.
Well, if you can't stand films that is just like one non sequitur after another that don't make any actual sense, then you probably won't be able to sit through this film. But if you can stomach that and you can appreciate amazing acting, amazing characters, incredible cinematography, and great music, like everything about the film is just. I watched this film. It was difficult for me to sit through. It was hard because like after one or two non sequiturs where the next scene and the next action doesn't really follow logically from what happened previously, you start to lose. Like it's like I think I made the comparison to oh shit, now I'm drawing a blank. The postmodern classical composer breaking all the rules of storytelling, basically. John Cage, like, kind of breaks all the rules of predictability in music. If you have nothing, if there's no predictability, it's very it's almost jarring to sit through a story that has you can't predict what's going to happen next at all. There's no anticipation. But the fact that like the acting and the dialogue was so great, and it was so like every scene in and of itself was like its own little movie or like music video. It definitely it sears an image in your mind. Like I when I think back to this film, I'm like, wow, what an interesting film. I enjoy the memory of it even more than I did like sitting down to watch it. But it was hard. It was hard for me to sit through because of the way the story was structured. But I really appreciated it. It's a very quirky and fun movie, nonetheless.
It's a long film. It feels long.
It feels longer than it is.
It feels longer than it is because of the
I
pacing.
like that.
But the acting is so solid in this movie.
Yeah.
And God bless any director who wants to take the difficulty of directing Faye Dunaway and Jerry Lewis.
And Johnny Depp and
Well, but Johnny Depp is easy on directors.
He's easygoing.
Oh, okay.
Jerry Lewis
So,
and
God,
Faye aren't.
Those two have reputations of
Yeah.
being extremely difficult, especially
Man.
Faye Dunaway. They're both huge egos, just huge egos.
Yeah,
And they
it's
had
true.
scenes together, which I thought was cool. But no, Abram, I know what you mean. Like the non sequiturs. It was for at least for me, it was linked by theme, and that's good enough.
What's the theme that links every scene together?
Love, loss, love, loss, and death. It was all these like forbidden loves.
Isn't everything
And then
love,
the
loss, and death, though? Isn't that just Freud? Like
Or
every story?
Shakespeare. I don't know, but I don't know, but it was about like moving on,
Even if
and
that-
life,
even if
the
I-
death,
Even if I
the fish in
agree,
the end.
right? Even if I agree with you that that's like a consistent theme throughout the film, and I'm not sure I do. I can see the case for it. It doesn't. it doesn't like then it's
Well, explain.
it makes it like a series of vignettes with a common theme to it, but that's not a story.
Oh, it's like to me, it's like a philosophy. I'm sorry, love lost. I meant that more as a philosophy. The French do
Okay, here we go.
philosophies.
Okay.
I said the word theme, but I guess I meant philosophy. But that brings us to Obscuria Filmcast
That's our year in review, part
review.
2.
Yeah, woo!
All right.
Like
so
and subscribe, and Seth is going to
it was-
choose.
in the process of doing this, I realized I got skipped over.
Did
What?
you?
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, what got skipped over?
Well, so okay.
That's
so
why I
from-
messed up. No, that's
okay.
why I messed up on the
Let's-
naming the things.
No, well, I picked Crimes of Passion, episode 13. Then Sean went, then Judy went, then Seth went, then Sean went. I like when Sean did Clue, that was my turn.
Oh,
I
so we didn't skip over you now. We actually skipped over it. Okay, so you
yeah,
want to
back
go
then.
next?
No. I want you to go next, and I'll
Okay.
I'll double up when it's my turn.
Okay, yeah, wait. So what's the cycle here? So is this a new cycle? Seth starts the cycle, and then it goes
No,
Abram.
we-
Seth, Abram,
No,
Judy,
it's
me.
Sean. It's Sean, Judy, Seth, Abram,
Sean, Judy, Seth,
or
Abram.
Sean,
Okay.
and sometimes it's Sean, Seth, Judy, Abram.
Yeah, I know. That's why, because when I was naming, I was putting all the names together. I messed up because I'm like, who did what?
It's
what?
fine.
You
It's
know?
fine. Okay, so
Okay.
Seth, you're next, then Judy, and then I'll do the
Okay.
following 2.
All right. So next week, we are going to do The Swimmer, starring Burt Lancaster, my father's favorite movie, which he summed up as a film about a guy who swims in other people's swimming pools. And then after he died, I watched it. And well, that's part of the movie. Yeah, Dad. I don't know. It was definitely more than that. And I hope everyone enjoys it.
The Swimmer, starring Burt Lancaster. What
Burt
year?
Lancaster. Yeah.
What year?
I believe it's 67. Am I right? It's before
It sounds like 67 or 68.
before the
68.
Graduate. It
68.
has
That's what I said.
68 or
What did I
69.
say? I said 68. I did. I
I
said
heard
it.
you, dude.
All right.
I was confirming it.
Okay.
Frank Perry.
Damn, I'm good.
And it's
Frank-
Marvin Hamlish's first score ever.
Yeah.
Really?
Great
That's
Marvin
cool.
Hamlish was like 19 years old or 20 years old.
Wow.
Like he was like a boy wonder, and they got him.
Yo, I wrote that down. I dig me some Marvin. No, Marvin is. I know what I dig Marvin. He's like Barry Manilow. He's like nobody likes to like him, but he's one of the
Does
best.
Barry Manilow write his songs? Does Marvin Hamlish
No,
write?
but he's like at Barry Manilow in music. The guy sells trillions of albums, but nobody admits that they like Barry Manilow. Kind of like
Okay.
Marvin Hamlish. He's profound, but he's nobody's favorite composer, if you know what I'm saying. But he's
Yeah.
So it
profound.
looks like The Swimmer is available on. Huh. I'm looking. I thought it was going to.
Oh,
available on
while
Amazon.
Abram looks that up, I'm wearing a shirt this whole episode. The back says Hobbs number 9. The first name is Roy Hobbs, the character in the movie. If you could guess this pop culture reference, I will send you a thing of baseball cards. I promise.
Yeah, you can rent The Swimmer on Amazon Prime, and or YouTube, Google Play, Vudu, Fandango.
It's on Vudu?
Yeah, but it's $2.99 on Amazon. That's the cheapest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, $2.99 to rent on. Oh no, $3.99 now. Okay,
Outrageous.
it is what it is. It's a classic. You can buy it for $12.99.
It's
It's
worth
niche.
buying.
It's niche. Like the niche stuff is always more expensive. The
All right,
crap
guys.
and the good.
Peace out. We'll see you next time. The Swimmer.
The Swimmer.